Hi everybody, welcome back. It's June 12th, 2023, and once again we're back on the moon utilizing the Worldwide Telescope, the American Astronomical Society's Worldwide Telescope. I've been trying to get people to use this tool. It's such an incredible tool, and it has been revealing so much of the moon that there's no other thing that I know of out there, no other pictures out there. They're going to get you this. Now we are looking at the south pole of the moon, and we are unable from Earth to see the south or the north pole. So that would help us explain partly why we haven't seen this kind of stuff before, other than NASA, or why we can't see it from Earth because it is on the pole. But there's a lot more going on the moon that isn't on the pole that we can't see, and it's just unexplainable. I don't have any kind of a solid theory other than to say that, you know, these people are so far ahead of us. The idea of them having a hologram to cover it up doesn't seem that strange to me. There has to be something, though. There has to be some reason why on these other places on the moon, not the poles, that we cannot see it. The other thing is, you know, when we look at these incredible patterns that we found in these dark craters, and I've been known to say that pick a crater, go to it. Use the telescope, pick a crater on the north or the south pole, and you're going to strike gold. You're going to find these really unusual patterns. They're all different but similar. We did see one pattern that had mainly cylindrical buildings involved, different kind of pattern. But these are the strangest looking craters you've ever seen, no doubt, right? I mean, what in the heck can these be? What can they be? They can't be just strange patterns. I mean, they have to, you know, they aren't going to just build some strange pattern on the moon. It has to be for a reason. That is presuming that these are buildings, which they are. Now, these long rectangular sections here have been, we've been calling them bars. So just for your reference, if you hear me talking about bars, I'm talking about these long rectangular boxy looking things. And you know, the thing is, this is alien. Well, people say, well, I don't think that you know, that doesn't look like, well, it doesn't look like what? You know, what should an alien place look like? You know, could it be that this doesn't look like what you were thinking it should look like, and therefore this probably couldn't be real? This couldn't be an alien place, could it? This has to be pixels. It has to be something else. It can't possibly be what it looks like. And some people, if you're on too small of a screen, it's not going to look like much. I know that, and I apologize for it. I do have some larger pictures coming towards the end of this video that should help you. If you do have a very small screen, should be able to see pretty well what we're talking about here. Now, these areas other than the bars, so on the top left and in the area towards the middle and then on the right, any area that's not a bar has been really difficult to show. I can tell you what they are, though. All of these things that are not part of the bars are vertical buildings. There are different kinds of buildings than what we see the bars being made out of. And you may recall hearing in the past that I've said that the at the end of each bar is a grouping of larger or taller vertical buildings. And so that's what these things are. And for some reason, they're so difficult to show. They're, there's light-colored buildings in there. There's dark-colored buildings, and we have shadow as well. And so when they get grouped in tightly like that, it's really hard to get any definition as to what they are. Although I will say, when the pictures get bigger, you'll begin to see that they are indeed tall buildings. But I don't have any really, 10 out of 10 pictures. It's no number 10s. They're, maybe 7s or 8s, something like that. Here, towards the top left in this, you can see some of those buildings grouped. And you'll frequently see them, these tall, sometimes usually white buildings with a black stripe across the top or across the front of it. This being presumably windows for, well, that's about the only thing I can think of that being. So what the heck do these people do? I mean, this is such an incredible place, and the population density is it's beyond us. It's beyond our comprehension, frankly. I just cannot imagine what it would be like to live in this area or live on the moon in this kind of a place with this many buildings all in one place. And then you can't go outside and blow off steam. Now here's a white bar that's in the early stages of coming together. And it has some interesting patterns on it there. But if you look at the ends of the bar, on the right in particular, you can see some tall white buildings with the black opening or the black stripe at the top, whichever that is. I hope I'm not moving through these pictures too quickly. And again, it's going to be my thing. I am going to someday get clear pictures of these tall vertical buildings. I'm fairly obsessed with it right now. It's interesting that they even exist. They go through all the trouble of this incredible pattern and all of the type of construction that goes on that pattern, and then they throw in these vertical buildings. Down in the 7 o'clock position, you can see some of them standing up right there. And then obviously right in the middle of the screen too. But I really seriously cannot imagine what these people could possibly be doing. It has to be like a collective mind, And they're not interested in comfort or style or any of these earthly things that we concern ourselves with. It has to be higher learning, right? Don't they have to constantly be learning more? Or have they already explored every possibility? I mean, if these guys have been around for millions of years, just think, even if they were around just for 1 million years, the knowledge they would have. We started getting smart here on Earth around the time of Einstein, okay? How long has that been? About 100 years? Well, we think we're pretty damn smart now, don't we? But we haven't even scratched the tip of the iceberg on smartness compared to these guys. Right in the middle of the screen, it looks like it says 55 or SS there, something like that. I don't know what that is. Has something to do with, obviously, with the structures. But it kind of stood out to me. Big SS or 55, one or the other. I prefer to think SS, like a SS Camaro or, some kind of hot rod, Chevelle, something, whatever. Yeah. So the other, issue has been there's so many issues when it comes to what we're seeing here. Not the least of which is building materials. Okay. Where the hell do those come from? I've become convinced now over the years that the moon is indeed hollow, and there are people living in there as well. So this is really a giant spacecraft. But they are building on the outside. Where does that stuff come from? Do they haul it in from the asteroid belt? I don't know. Then right in the middle of the screen is one dark bar there, and it's unusual because it's really smooth. It almost looks like a blanket that's been laid over the top of that thing. There are some buildings on top, a couple of them, but generally it looks really smooth, and it almost looks like the buildings that are on the bottom, like this blanket's been cut out to make room for these buildings down there. You see what I'm saying there? Right in the middle of the screen. It just looks like it's been cut out. So that's a real unusual looking bar. I don't understand it. It's not like any of the others. It's very solid looking and kind of smooth. So I don't know what that is. And I get closer and closer to these vertical buildings, and maybe we'll get a few more of those shots coming up. To the right of this middle bar, there are some tall, skinny, very thin skyscraper buildings, black in color. Do you see them? There's all kinds of groupings of buildings in there, but the tall, skinny, black ones really stand out. By the way, I did mention recently that I was going to start using a pointer, and frankly, I can't figure the damn thing out. Now, I know I'm not a big computer guy or anything. And my problem is a couple things. One is I don't have a lot of time. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure that thing out, and I was pretty frustrated with it. I wasn't getting anywhere with my good old YouTube videos to help me with it. So I backburnered it again, and I have other projects going on too other than just the YouTube. So my time's been used up quite a bit. I'm not done trying to figure that thing out, and bear with me, okay? That's all I can say. It's kind of interesting when you get even closer, and of course the resolution gets a little bit fuzzier. That's just the way that goes. But if you look into the pictures here, you can almost get a 3D effect. You can almost feel yourself in there walking around. Now, some of the buildings I've seen here and there are cylindrical, which of course takes away from the idea of this being all pixels. There's a number of things that make this not pixels, but make no mistake, I mean, there are pixels in there, but the thing is that they align vertically and horizontally, and try to follow a pixel all the way up. You can't do it. They're just so you can't blame this on pixels. Now we really kind of need to blame it on something, though, don't we? I mean, this just can't be real. This can't be there. And it certainly can't be what it looks like. But I can tell you what it isn't. It's not smooth regolith, Regolith being the sandy covering on the moon. It's not that. You know, it's not a pile of rocks, so we know what it isn't. But it does look like civilization. You take into consideration the context, the structural geometry, the repetition. This is life on the moon, you guys, right over our heads. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.